So today we will see how we can make a top-down twin stick shooter. We'll create this, the exact thing you see over here. Now I've added some AK stuff and the particles. These are stuff we have already done in previous videos, so I'm not going to go again with them. Okay, and the other thing I will have to say is that the animations I'm using right now are bot animations, so I can't share them freely. You can find animations to use in the asset store or anywhere else, and their prices, they have a lot of prices. See what's inside your budget, inside your limit, or see if you can make them by yourself. So let's go now. Before we start playing with our character, I'm going to disable him and I'm going to create a new game object, and I want to actually have a capsule. So this camera I have over here is on orthographic just for no particular reason, but just to make it look a little more different than anything else we have done. So I will rename my capsule for now and call it player. We have a capsule collider. I'm going to bring this down, and I want to add a rigid body. Now for my rigid body, I'm going to raise the angular drag. I'm going to make drag something like 4, and the next thing I want to do is freeze the rotation on the X and the Z. And now I'm going to create a new script, and I'm going to call it character movement. So to my new player game object, I'm going to drop the character movement script. So for this type of game, we're not going to mess with the camera. We're going to make it so that when we press W, we're always going upwards of the camera. When we press S, downwards. The A, when we press A, to the left, and D to the right, and so on. So let's jump into our script, and let me bring it over here. Now, of course, the first thing we need to do is add a reference to our rigid body. Then on start, we will do rigid body get component rigid body. Now, since we are using let me delete the stuff. Since we are using physics, we're going to use fixed update. And now we will see later we will use update, but not now. So let's start with a movement. Of course, as with any other project, we want to take the get axis, not get axis row, get axis, the horizontal, and the vertical, and we do it the same way as the horizontal. And we have done this a lot of times before. So now that we have our axis, we have our input. Now we need to turn our input into forces to move the rigid body. So we will add vector3 movement, and we will call this, we want a new vector3. We want to pass horizontal. We don't want our character to move on the y-axis, and we're going to pass the vertical. And now for this, we will say rigid body dot add force movement multiplied. Now we need a new float which we will call speed. I'm going to initialize it with 4, and let's go back to our rigid body dot add force. We take the movement, we multiply it by speed, and we subdivide by time dot delta time. Now we save. Let's go back to Unity. Let's make sure our script is there. So now if I hit play, you will see that when I press either key, I actually move around. Now of course this is a little bit too fast, so let's make it to 2, and it's about right. So now we have our movement, but let's make our character rotate towards where our mouse is looking. So I'm going to create something like a nose so that we know where our character is looking at. Let's make sure it's on the right side, and they have the same forward. Okay, and now let's go back to our script, and now we will utilize the update function. So void update. Now we want our character to look wherever the mouse is, and the way to do that is by doing array from the center of the screen, not the center of the screen, from the position of the mouse. We will do array cast hit, and then if physics dot raycast ray out hit, and we give it something like 100. Now of course this will only work if we hit something, if there is a raycast that we're doing and we hit something. But we don't want this to happen, because our raycast might not hit somewhere, and then our player will go haywire. So I'm going to add a new vector 3, which we will call look pose. So whenever there is a raycast, we will update the look position. Okay, and since now that we have a look position, we want to find the look direction and the direction where we should look, and the way we do this is by doing look position minus transform dot position. Now we know we don't want him to look towards up on the P axis, so we make the P axis of the look direction to be 0, and then simply do transform dot look at transform dot position plus the look direction, and we want to rotate on the vector 3 up. Let's save, let's go back, and now that I hit play, you will see that our capsule always facing towards our mouse position, and even if I get too close to the object, he doesn't messes with his rotation. And that's about it basically on when you want to move on a top down without the animations. Now let's jump into my other character, the other character I have. I'm going to close this, I'm actually going to delete this, and this don't worry about them, we will see later, and I'm going to drop the character movement script that I made into my own character. Now let's see a little bit about his animator. So this is our animator. As you can see, we only have one layer. Keep in mind, if we're going to use the IK, we need to tick the IK pass. And for parameters, we only have forward and turn. And the only thing we have inside, we have a blend tree over here, and let me rename that to locomotion. And when I open it, you can see in our preview window and our blend tree over here. Now the settings for this blend tree over here is DD freeform Cartesian. We pass the turn and the forward amount, and what it does is run through our 5 animations. So this is the idle when the forward and the turn is at 0. Then we play the idle animation. Now if the forward is -1, he will start moving to the back. If it's for the forward, it's to the up, to the 1, then it will move forward, and the turn will be the exact same, and you can go towards the middle if you have this. So this is the power of the blend trees. Now that we have this, let's jump back into our scripts. And now we have a little bit of problems, because if I just did animator, which we haven't added, so let's add the reference. Animator, anim, and so on. Anim, get component, animator. Okay, so if I did anim.setFloat forward and pass the vertical, and anim.setFloat turn and pass the horizontal, and go back into my script. Let me close the weapons since I don't have the IK open. It might distract you, and now it doesn't even play. And the reason it doesn't play because I have my model, the avatar of this model, I have it, it's not on the same level with the scripts. So let's quickly fix that. Let's create a new function. Let's call it setup animator. We actually have made this before, so I'm not going to write it, but I'm rather going to copy paste it. Okay, we get the animator, and we used we search every children of our current object, and the first animator we find, we take the avatar and destroy that child animator, and then we break, because we only want to take the first animator. I'm going to take this setup animator. By the way, I have this function is from the third person shooter series, and the first thing we need to do is actually drop it over here. Let me delete this. So now that I hit play, you can see that he's moving and he's looking towards our mouse. But if I hit let's make him, but if I hit the up, the W or the S key or any other key, he will always be playing the same animations. Now let's make the speed to 1 so that we can understand better what's happening. So when I'm looking up and I press the movement keys, he plays the correct animations. But when I'm looking down and press the up key, he plays the wrong animations. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is make sure to convert the input and make sure he's playing the correct animations towards where we are looking, where we are always looking, where the character is looking. So let's jump back into our character movement script. I'm going to delete this and now I'm going to start making some functions, but first of all let's add what we are going to use. Now some of this we have done it before on the third person shooter series, but we will see it in a more smaller scale. So transfer.cam, we will store our camera. No, vector3, we will store our camera forward. We need a vector3 that will be our move, a vector3, another vector3 that will be our move input, and we need two floats. One will be our forward amount and the second will be our turn amount. So now that we have our variables, let's go and setting up our functions. But before we do that, let's just add what we know, what we already have inside start. So the camera will be, of course, camera dot main dot transfer, and this will be it actually. So now in fixed update, after we take our horizontal and our vertical, we need to make sure we will do a check if there is a camera. Okay, then our camera forward will be vector3 scale, the up vector of our camera, and we're going to pass a new vector3 will be x to 1, the y 0 and 1, and we want all this to be normalized. For this we'll take care of the scale for our camera, and then our move will actually be vertical multiplied by our cam forward plus the horizontal multiplied by our cam dot right. Now on the third person shooter series, instead of cam dot up, we used camera dot forward. But since this is a top down game, we can't use the dot forward because it will be returning 0 values. So or values we can't use. So if there is not a camera, then as before, vector3 dot forward plus horizontal multiplied by vector3 dot right. Next, if the magnitude of our move is higher than 1, then we need to normalize it so that we have small values. And now we need to call a move function and pass on the move, but of course we do not have a move function, so we're going to use it. and I'm going to see anyway. Let's do it manually. So we will pass a void move, and on this move function will take a vector3 move, and we will start by again normalizing our magnitude if it's higher than 1, and then this the move input will be the move that we're passing, and we need to change it from move to move input, so because we are going to use the move input into different other functions, and these other functions will be convert move input and simply update animator. Now of course these functions are not yet made, so let's add them. Both of them will be void, and both of them need brackets in the end so that we don't get errors. So let's start with our convert move input first. First we need to create a new vector3 which will be our local move. So transform dot inverse transform direction move input, and as you know, the inverse transform direction takes one direction and converts it from the local position to world position. So the turn amount will be equals the local move dot x, and the forward amount will equals the local move dot z, and that's it for the convert move input. We will return in a little bit in it. So on update animator, then the only thing we need to do is pass set float. The forward float will be the forward amount 0.1f time dot delta time, and animator dot set float turn will be the turn amount 0.1f time dot delta time. We will save, and let's jump back into Unity and see what we have done. So if I hit play now, you will see that even if I turn towards whichever direction I want to move, I'm only pressing now W and S, but he's moving to the direction, to the correct animation. He's playing the correct animation. Okay, so that's basically how you make this, how you make your characters move towards independently of how the camera is looking, but move towards a position in space. So if I change if I add a target instead of the raycast dot point to the look position, he will always be looking towards one point. You can use that for enemies and stuff like that. So we've seen how we can move with the root motion, and we've seen how we can move without root motion. Now some more things we can do with this. I've made some more scripts for the IK handling script. Okay, we we have done the AK on some occasions on our previous videos, so it's not something new. Okay, simply just make the weight 1 and add the target and the position and the rotation and all stuff like that, and have under your weapon have 2 targets, and make your character place his hand on the correct position for the weapons. And that's basically it. And I've actually made a shooting handler script, which is really nothing. If I open it here, which is okay, it couldn't be any more simpler. Now don't even bother yourself with that. That's basically what we have. Okay, we take the particle system, the weapon animator. The animator, I was doing some other stuff, so not even these are needed. When we press the mouse button, throw a bullet. And if I open that, of course you need to pass the particle system. I'm passing this. You can see this is also bought from the asset store. Okay, so I can't share it. Now I normally don't use bought assets because I won't follow around, but this example, this video was much better with good animations and good particles than not having them. So that was it. That's barely it. And you can decide then how you want to make your how to shoot your characters. Okay, that's basically it. This tutorial. This is the movement and the scripts I'm actually using in my own game. You can find a link for it for the IndieDB page in the description below. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also support me on Patreon on www.patreon.com/C#accent, where with $5 or more you can get access to a Google folder where I use all my scripts, where I drop all my scripts. I also add extra notes on them because sometimes when I'm making the videos I will remember later that I forgot to say something. I will add it in those scripts as notes or some few basic guidelines on what you can do. Okay, now that was it. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.